With real data in hand, which country is more dangerous, the UK or Germany? What is the profile and origin of criminals operating in these countries? What are the most common crimes? And which of the two fights harder to protect its citizens? In this video, we dive into real data from reliable sources to uncover the reality of crime in the UK and Germany. We'll examine overall crime rates, violent crime, terrorism, regional UK differences, organised crime, public perception of crime, corruption, dangerous cities, police effectiveness, and criminal profiles. Finally, we will take a look at the most dangerous countries in Europe. Welcome to Amazing Europe. Let's start with the type of crime that affects everyday life, the one that makes you double lock your door at night. We're talking about burglaries. According to the latest data, the UK records a staggering 416 burglaries per 100,000 inhabitants. Think about that number, 416. Statistically, the risk of encountering a burglar in your home in the UK is far from negligible. And Germany? The situation is different, but not by much. Burglaries in Germany stand at 313 cases per 100,000 people. The difference is there, but it's not an abyss. Both countries clearly have a burglary problem, though the UK, based on the numbers, suffers more. Now, let's widen our perspective to theft in general, excluding burglaries, which we just covered. Here comes the real shocker. The UK skyrockets to an astonishing 2,513 thefts per 100,000 inhabitants. Let's repeat that. 2,513 thefts per 100,000 people. This is an insane figure, showing that theft of all kinds and sizes is an everyday occurrence in the UK. And Germany? The gap narrows, but this time it's huge. Germany reports 1,252 theft cases per 100,000 inhabitants. That's half the UK's rate, but let's be honest, this is still an extremely high number, proving that Germany is far from a crime-free paradise when it comes to theft. When it comes to motor vehicle theft, there's simply no comparison. 181 per 100,000 in the UK versus 59 in Germany, a threefold difference. The takeaway? Both countries have alarmingly high theft rates, but in this unwanted competition, the UK takes the gold medal by far. Now, let's step into the realm of violent crime. Starting with serious assaults, the UK records 797 cases per 100,000 inhabitants. That's a very high number. And Germany? This is where things get surprising. Serious assaults in Germany are at just 174 cases per 100,000 people. Yes, you heard that right, almost 5 times lower than in the UK. This is a striking statistic that suggests, at least when it comes to violent assaults, Germany is a much safer place than the UK. Now, let's move on to sexual violence, a topic that is even more sensitive. Let's first consider rape. According to the data, the UK records 106 cases per 100,000 inhabitants. A tragic number that speaks of violence, trauma, and shattered lives. And Germany? In this painful context, Germany reports only 15 cases of rape per 100,000 inhabitants, less than 1/7 of the UK's rate. A staggering difference that forces us to reflect on the contrasting realities of sexual violence in these two countries. And let's remember, these figures come from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, based on official data from each nation's statistical offices. Expanding the scope to include all forms of sexual violence, the trend remains clear. The UK reaches 316 cases per 100,000 inhabitants, while Germany records 45 cases. Once again, the UK shows a far higher rate of sexual violence than Germany. There is one category of crime that forces us to confront the horror of extreme violence: homicide. How do the UK and Germany compare? Both countries actually fare better than Europe as a whole. The European average homicide rate is 2.1 per 100,000 inhabitants. The UK registers 1.141 homicides per 100,000 inhabitants. This is fortunately lower than the European average, but it hasn't improved significantly over the past decade, especially in England and Wales. And Germany does even better. with a homicide rate of just 0.823 per 100,000 inhabitants. Lower than the UK, though the difference isn't dramatic. Both nations maintain relatively low homicide rates, particularly compared to other parts of the world. However, the slight difference tells us that even in the darkest aspect of crime, Germany seems to provide a slightly higher level of safety. A final category, thankfully rare but always terrifying, kidnapping. Here too we see a difference, though it's less pronounced than in other crime categories. The UK reports 10.20 cases per 100,000 inhabitants, while Germany records 5.87 cases. These numbers are low for both countries, which is reassuring. But once again, the UK appears slightly more at risk. At the end of this first phase of our comparison, what have we learned? When it comes to violent crimes and property crimes, there is a clear winner, the UK. And in this case, winning is not something to be proud of. But if we take terrorism into account, the picture shifts dramatically, with some big surprises. Let's start with Germany. The Global Terrorism Index ranks Germany 27th worldwide, a major red flag for Western nations. In fact, it is the highest ranking among all Western countries. In 2024, terrorist attacks in Europe doubled, and Germany experienced a dangerous resurgence. 6 people killed, the attack on a Christmas market in Magdeburg. Germany is once again confronting the threat of terrorist violence. And the UK? It ranks 41st in the world, better than Germany. But there's a dark shadow looming over its future. The UK is witnessing a new wave of emerging extremists among children. In 2023, there were 42 arrests for terrorism-related offences, ranging from spreading terrorist propaganda to encouraging and planning violent attacks. 1 in 5 terrorism suspects in Britain is now legally classified as a minor. So who is more affected? Germany today seems to be paying a higher price in terms of attacks and victims. The UK, on the other hand, is fighting a more insidious battle against a growing, homegrown and alarmingly young extremist threat. When discussing crime within the United Kingdom, it is crucial to clarify one very important point. The different regions of the UK vary significantly from one another, and in some areas, certain parts of Britain are actually safer than Germany. Take serious assaults, for example. England and Wales record an astonishing rate of 950 serious assaults per 100,000 inhabitants, a staggering figure. In contrast, Northern Ireland and Scotland present the opposite scenario, with much lower rates, around 50 cases per 100,000 inhabitants, almost 20 times lower. A striking divide that sharply differentiates personal safety within the same country. The same pattern emerges with burglaries. England and Wales top this unfortunate ranking with 446 burglaries per 100,000 inhabitants. Meanwhile, Northern Ireland and Scotland report much lower figures, under 200 cases per 100,000, indicating a much calmer domestic environment. And what about theft in general? Once again, England and Wales stand out with over 2,690 thefts per 100,000 inhabitants, a staggering number compared to Northern Ireland, which records around 1,050 thefts, and Scotland at approximately 1,500. Even fraud follows this trend. England and Wales far surpass Scotland, which remains significantly safer, with a fraud rate 5 times lower. But now, get ready for the plot twist, the unexpected surprise. While England and Wales struggle to keep up with Germany in certain areas, other regions of the UK completely turn the situation around. Let's go back to serious assaults. Northern Ireland and Scotland, with their minimal rates of about 50 cases per 100,000 inhabitants, significantly outperform Germany, which records 173 serious assaults. A remarkable achievement, offering residents of these areas even greater personal safety than in Germany. And that's not all. Even in the field of fraud, Scotland, with a rate of around 307 offences per 100,000 inhabitants, ranks better than Germany, which reports 961 cases. Northern Ireland, in many of these categories, aligns closely with Scotland, proving that the image of an unsafe United Kingdom is only a half-truth. an incomplete portrait of a far more complex reality. Beyond conventional crime statistics, there is a more insidious phenomenon that profoundly affects our lives: organised crime. According to the Global Organised Crime Index, both the United Kingdom and Germany are vulnerable to mafia infiltrations, often underestimated by the public. Cocaine trafficking represents the main source of income for these criminal networks, while money laundering contaminates the legal economy through sophisticated mechanisms involving the real estate and financial sectors. Opaque bank accounts, real estate investments, luxury goods, dirty money always finds a way to be cleaned, and both the UK and Germany are attractive markets for these operations. In both countries, foreign criminal organisations dominate the scene. Germany faces threats from Arab and Turkish clans, the Italian mafia, and outlaw motorcycle gangs involved in extortion, arms trafficking, and prostitution. The UK, on the other hand, grapples with the growing influence of Albanian gangs in the cocaine market and Russian groups specialising in money laundering and cybercrime. Particularly concerning for the UK is the infiltration of Chinese state-linked enterprises into strategic infrastructure and the market for chemical precursors, a phenomenon less evident in Germany. Overall, the UK seems to be dealing with a slightly more critical situation, with greater concerns regarding high-level corruption and money laundering. The index ranks the UK as the 10th most affected country in Europe by organised crime, while Germany is 14th, confirming that in both nations, the problem is more severe than most citizens perceive. In fact, the perception of crime is a crucial factor in understanding how it affects people's mental health and daily lives. Numbeo, a website primarily created to compare the cost of living between different nations, also collects thousands of testimonies on the perception of safety, providing an illuminating snapshot of how the British and Germans experience this reality. Surprisingly, both countries share a perception of crime classified as moderate, neither havens of tranquility nor zones of constant danger. A common red flag is the widespread feeling that crime is on the rise, a concern that echoes through the streets of both London and Berlin. Delving into everyday fears, revealing nuances emerge. Anxiety over home burglaries looms in both nations, but in the United Kingdom, this worry seems to knock louder at the door. Similarly, the fear of assaults or street robberies, while moderate everywhere, casts a longer shadow on British soil. Interestingly, when it comes to cars, the worry eases. Vehicle thefts or thefts of objects inside them generate less apprehension in both contexts, exploring deeper personal anxieties, the kind that quicken the pulse when walking alone. The fear of physical assaults manifests at a moderate level in both Germany and the UK, with the latter feeling slightly more on edge. The fear of verbal insults and humiliation, however, resonates with similar intensity in both countries. Surprisingly, anxiety over hate crimes, whether racial, religious, or ethnic, appears notably subdued, suggesting that this is not the primary spectre haunting citizens' minds. The issue of drugs paints a sharper picture. Drug dealing and consumption are perceived as problematic everywhere, but in the United Kingdom, the alarm rings louder, almost reaching a high level of concern. Vandalism and petty theft also provoke moderate anxiety in both countries, though the British feel slightly more apprehensive. More serious violent crimes, fortunately, remain more in the background, falling within a low to moderate concern range in both Germany and the UK. The true measure of perceived safety comes down to a simple act: walking alone. During the day, tranquility reigns everywhere, a reassuring statistic. But when darkness falls, perception shifts drastically. Nighttime safety drops to moderate levels in both countries, with the United Kingdom displaying a slightly more pronounced unease compared to Germany. This comparative snapshot reveals that both London and Berlin offer moderately safe environments, though not without their shadows. The fears are similar, but play at different volumes. It is undeniable. British citizens seem to feel the breath of crime closer to their necks than their German counterparts. Perception and reality do not always move in sync, but in this case, the collective sentiment seems to align with what the numbers already suggested. The United Kingdom experiences a stronger pulse of insecurity compared to Germany, an echo that reverberates through the streets and within the hearts of its inhabitants. What about the perception of corruption, a phenomenon not always easy to quantify? Here, Numbeo's data aligns with that of Transparency International, the leading reference for corruption perception across countries. The United Kingdom and Germany are seen as models of democracy and transparency. But is that reality changing? Today, we focus on a worrying trend. Perceived corruption is on the rise in both countries. Despite still ranking well globally, alarm bells are ringing. According to Transparency International, the UK and Germany remain in high positions on the global index, at 20th and 15th place respectively. These rankings put them well above the global average. However, the striking detail is this: both countries are losing ground. The UK in particular has seen its score plummet in recent years, reaching an all-time low. Germany is holding up better, but even here, perceived corruption is increasing. Certainly, the UK and Germany boast strong anti-corruption laws and institutions meant to act as safeguards. But citizen perception, as measured by Transparency International, suggests that something is wrong. Perhaps corruption is becoming more sophisticated and harder to detect, or maybe public trust in institutions is eroding. Whatever the cause, the message is clear. Neither the UK nor Germany can afford to let their guard down. In conclusion, while they remain global role models, both the UK and Germany must confront the growing perception of corruption. There is one area where crime perception is genuinely rising. Some cities in these two countries are seeing a surge in concerns. Now, let's explore the urban heart of the UK and Germany to uncover which cities are the most dangerous. Surprisingly, London is not the most dangerous British city. Considering the entire metropolitan area, London records 105 crimes per 1,000 inhabitants. A high number, no doubt, but still lower than crime rates in Middlesbrough and, especially, Manchester. However, if we look closer at specific London boroughs, the story changes dramatically. Camden has a crime rate of 184.2 crimes per 1,000 inhabitants. But the undisputed title of the most dangerous city goes to Westminster. Incredibly, at the very heart of London, crime runs rampant with an astonishing rate of 440 crimes per 1,000 inhabitants. Now, let's shift to Germany. The crime capital of Germany is Berlin, with a rate of 143 crimes per 1,000 inhabitants. Much lower than Westminster, but still a significant figure, placing it at the top of Germany's crime charts. Coming in second is Frankfurt am Main, 120 crimes per 1,000 inhabitants, though Berlin and Frankfurt often vie for the title of Germany's most dangerous city each year. Hamburg is third with 105 crimes per 1,000 inhabitants. If we compare rankings, one fact stands out. Urban crime rates are significantly higher than in rural areas. However, even here, British cities appear to be more dangerous than their German counterparts. But what fuels this dark reality? Socioeconomic factors play a crucial role. In the UK, economic deprivation, poverty and unemployment drive crime, particularly in northern England and large metropolitan areas. Organised crime, youth gangs, high urban density, social inequality and lack of opportunities for young people create a volatile mix that ignites crime statistics. Immigration, though complex, also plays a role, linked to integration challenges and economic disparities. In German cities, the pattern is similar. Organised crime, increasingly sophisticated and transnational, is a growing threat, especially in major cities. Urban poverty, marginalised communities, and poorly integrated immigrants create grey zones where crime flourishes. Regional disparities, particularly between northern and southern Germany, also appear to influence crime rates. Ultimately, while crime remains a concern in both the UK and Germany, British cities appear to be significantly more affected. But how many of these criminals actually get arrested? When we talk about the fight against crime, the streets of London and Berlin take radically different paths, revealing two opposing visions of justice and security. Who really manages to protect their citizens better? The foundations of the two judicial systems reveal vastly different worlds. impossible to summarize exhaustively in a minute, but if we try, we can say that the United Kingdom sails the seas of common law. This is a legal system shaped by court rulings, fluid like a current, without the fixed point of a written constitution. Here, laws emerge from precedents, moulding over time like clay in the hands of judges. Germany, on the other hand, moves along the tracks of civil law, rigid, systematic codes, akin to an instruction manual for justice that seeks precision and order in every mechanism. Even the very essence of the police reflects this divergence. British officers operate under the principle of policing by consent, a tacit agreement with citizens, a dance of discretion that often allows minor offences to be resolved with a simple warning. On German soil, however, the principle of legality prevails. The law is an inviolable commandment. Prosecutors are obliged to pursue every crime without exceptions, in a system where every cog follows strict guidelines. Sentences reflect nearly opposite philosophies. Germany embraces rehabilitation as a mission. The system aims to reintegrate offenders, to bring them back into society, almost like a re-education effort. The United Kingdom, despite judicial guidelines and discretion, leans more towards punishment and deterrence. The numbers don't lie. British prisons house almost twice as many inmates as German ones, a chasm that reflects two opposing conceptions of the very meaning of punishment. And in the courts, another crucial difference. In Germany, the judge is the conductor of the trial, while there is no jury. Who wins the battle of efficiency? A difficult riddle to solve. The systems count in profoundly different ways. Germany considers a case solved when a suspect is identified, 58% of cases. The United Kingdom, on the other hand, looks at the charge rate, meaning formal judicial action, indictment, or summons to court, which happens in 6% of cases. Two incomparable measuring sticks. One fact, however, is clear: trust in law enforcement. According to various surveys, in Germany it appears quite solid, while in the UK it is dangerously wavering, especially among young people. A warning bell that is ringing louder and louder on British streets, signalling cracks in the relationship between citizens and law enforcement. But who commits crimes in the United Kingdom and Germany? Before answering this question, if you found this video informative, we kindly ask you to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and click on the notification bell so you won't miss our new videos. We also take this opportunity to remind you of our new channel, America vs. Europe, where you can discover comparisons on various aspects between the United States, Canada, and European countries. Now, let's return to the profile of criminals in these two nations. Behind the statistics lie faces, stories, and profiles that often repeat themselves, creating a disturbing criminal identikit. An identikit that we are about to reveal to you, always based on the official information made public by the governments of these two nations. Let's start with what the two countries have in common. One fact emerges clearly in both. Foreign nationality is a recurring factor in criminal profiles, especially for certain types of crimes. However, we want to clarify a very important point. We at Amazing Europe strongly reject racism. By sharing official crime data, we are absolutely not suggesting that foreigner equals criminal. We know this is an oversimplification of a complex situation. However, the statistics clearly show that individuals with non-local passports or those with foreign backgrounds are overrepresented in certain crimes, specifically sexual assault and theft, in both the UK and Germany. We genuinely want to hear your respectful opinions in the comments about why this might be the case. As we were saying, people with foreign citizenship or origin are overrepresented in crime statistics, both in the United Kingdom and in Germany. But the differences are also significant and revealing. In the United Kingdom, government reports often focus more on the ethnicity of criminals rather than their nationality. Statistics show a strong overrepresentation of black individuals at various stages of the judicial system, from drug-related arrests to homicide victims. A fact that raises profound questions about social inequalities in the UK. In Germany, on the other hand, government reports focus primarily on the nationality of criminals. As mentioned earlier, the majority do not hold German citizenship, especially when it comes to violent crimes committed in Berlin and thefts in North Rhine-Westphalia. Young foreign men, particularly asylum seekers, seem to be more frequently involved in certain categories of crimes, fueling a complex debate on immigration and integration in Germany. Regarding drug-related offences, the United Kingdom shows a disproportionately high arrest rate for black individuals, while Germany points the finger at foreign gangs, especially Albanian, Serbian and Syrian networks involved in cocaine trafficking. Finally, when it comes to theft, Germany highlights a strong presence of foreign suspects, particularly in home burglaries, shoplifting and pickpocketing. To give an example, 80% of pickpockets in North Rhine-Westphalia are foreigners. However, if we shift our focus to the United Kingdom and analyse theft committed by minors, we find that 73% of offenders are white. What do you think? Who fights crime harder? The United Kingdom or Germany? What are your thoughts on the situation in these countries? Share everything you think in the comments. And if you want comparisons with other countries, write in the comments which nations you'd like to see compared. To get a complete picture of crime in Europe, we recommend this video, where we look at the 10 most dangerous European countries, always based on real crime data. That's all for this video. See you next time.